die. Sometimes I wish I'd never been born at all. Welcome to Super High Priestess. I'm your Super High Priestess, and today we're going to talk about abortion again because this is a huge topic that is affecting at least half the population. Chances are you know a female. Chances are that she's going to get pregnant or is in those breeding years. And here's an amazing thing I saw from MSNBC. I watch both sides because I will not subscribe to one. There are good things in both. There are bad things in both. I am on the side of what I believe is right. I believe in freedom. I believe in people's ability to choose. And in that case, that means more things would be legal than not. So I'm kind of more libertarian than anything else. But let's get into this.
And now women are being punished. And not just for seeking out abortions, but for actually needing them. Caitlin Cash of Austin, Texas, says an abortion saved her life. She was pregnant with her second child when she learned that her baby would likely not survive until birth. When she asked what solution would ensure the least suffering for her child, she was advised by doctors to, quote, seek a second opinion.
Yeah, because they can't say what they really think. That's what's going on. There are so many doctors and healthcare professionals who, because of whether it's extremes on the left or extremes on the right, they're like, I'm out of here. And this abortion thing is one of those reasons. They don't want to practice, some of them. They're worried about legalities. They're worried about getting sued. They're worried about going to prison.
Outside Texas. She traveled to Kansas for an abortion. But Texas's arcane abortion ban and unclear exemptions were not done with Caitlin. Months later, she had to pass a miscarriage without medical intervention.
That's terrible. Okay, I just want to be clear, guys. So I have children. I have been pregnant 6 times. 2 were miscarriages. One of them was a NICU baby, a neonatal care intensive unit baby. So I've had some experience. I had to have a D&C to get one of those babies scraped out of my uterus. I'm laughing, but I mean, it was a very sad time. It's a very intense thing. You have to go under anesthesia for the one that I did. And you wake up, you're groggy, you're tired. It was a same day procedure, so I was in and out the same day. I understand abortions are very similar. They said on the medical form, what did they say? It said something like abortion. It said, can't remember because it was a long time ago, over 10 years ago, but it said something to that effect, like termination. But the baby was dead inside of me. In fact, it wasn't even a living thing anymore. It just was a fertilized egg that stopped growing, but it was considered an abortion because there was no more growth. I mean, what's the point of continuing with a pregnancy if it's doomed? Because my body thought I was pregnant. All the hormones were raging. All of the morning sickness was going on. Lucky me! You know, it was just all of that stuff. And it was very sad to find out this is not going to result in a healthy baby. I was able to do it in my same town and go home and rest and relax, be with my husband and my 2 kids. The comforts of my bed, the comforts of my food. I think it is an absolute criminal that this woman had to travel state lines to get a medical procedure that was necessary for her health. This is a travesty in our country. I hope it's a wake-up call for a lot of people, because having a procedure like this is not about, you know, a baby's inconvenient and I don't feel like having one. No, a baby inside you that dies or is under this situation to where it's going to die, a dead baby can become septic in your body, lead to infection and kill you. I'm not a doctor, but that's just my basic understanding. And that would suck. It would suck to have a child go to term who you know is not going to survive. That's a lot to ask. Just a regular healthy pregnancy is a lot to ask. No one should have to suffer like this. Look, this isn't the 1800s where, well, we didn't have any contraceptives. We didn't have any medical knowledge. Women died from cesarean sections all the time in 1920, the 1910s. It's amazing that most women don't die anymore. It's intense. Imagine men, okay, I want the men to imagine taking a dump that's the size of a small watermelon out of your butthole. Just imagine it.
Struggling to fill a prescription because the drug she needed to manage her miscarriage is also used for medication abortion. And because of that, no pharmacy in Texas would dispense it to her.
They're scared.
Caitlin gave birth to a daughter in 2023, but when the hospital had difficulty finding staff and equipment to provide postpartum care, she vomited, lost blood, passed out, and ultimately was transferred to the intensive care unit. Doctors told her she was lucky she didn't lose her uterus and future fertility.
That's
Caitlin needed
intense.
care, and Texas's abortion ban made sure she couldn't get it.
Wow.
Summing it up, the Associated Press, she said, quote, "We have black and white laws on something that is almost always multiple shades of gray."
Yes.
Abortion is healthcare. Its availability is inextricably bound up with women's health and safety and fertility. When you ban abortion, you ban women's healthcare, and you punish women for being women. Joining me now to discuss all of this is Caitlin Cash. She's a reproductive rights advocate and one of the plaintiffs in a lawsuit targeting Texas's abortion ban.
Good. Good. Sue them. This is absolute insanity, what is happening. And you know what else is really odd? It's as if they want people in poverty to be forced to have children for some reason. Younger people, because most of the people that do have abortions are in their 20s. And then the second group is people in their 30s. The last group is 40 to 44. And then, thank goodness, the smallest group is teenage girls. About 70-some%, 60-something% are people who feel they can't afford it. This is an amazing book. It's kind of old, 2005, right? Freakonomics by Stephen D. Levitt and Stephen J. Dubner. There's another look, you guys. Okay, now this book is incredible because it talks about some taboo subjects or subjects that don't feel so great. One of the subjects is abortion. Roe v. Wade took place in 1972. It was commonly available to a lot more people. Now, many women went and had abortions, and the demographic of people that had abortions were in poverty specifically. About 20 years later, in 1992, there was a huge national drop in crime. And according to the authors of this book, that crime drop was attributed to the abortions that started taking place in 1972. Because those criminals that would have been born never came to be. Huh. That's really interesting. The majority of people that get abortions are people in low-income poverty situations. Typically, people born within a socioeconomic bracket stay within that into adulthood. Yes, you have rags to riches stories. Yes, you have people that are rich or they do well and then they go lower. Yes, I'm not saying, but typically the majority of people stay within because generations pass down what they know and what is familiar, what is common within their lives. So it's very practical and typical that many people stay within exploitation of poverty. Poverty is one of the evils of this world. It's not money. Money's great. Money is a wonderful tool that can be used to do amazing things. Poverty is the real sinister character here. It can make it so you can't get health care you need. It can make it so you are exploitive. It leads to desperation, abuse, victimization, all kinds of terrible things. I wouldn't recommend it. Nobody's ever like, hey, I love being poor. It's the best. I've never heard that. It's almost as if, now this is a conspiracy, okay? This is kind of a conspiracy. I wonder if this could be true opinion that I have. That if Roe versus Wade is really something done by the conservative party so that more poor people are forced to bear children, whether to keep them or whether to give them to wealthy families for adoption. Because the other thing that's very interesting about Roe versus Wade being restricted is that even those little like test tube embryos, fewer people want to or can do IVF because that little test tube baby is considered a person that if they decide to, well, we're not going to use these or we're going to destroy them, you can go to prison for that? What is happening? Seriously, it's like wild. It is wild. So who usually does IVF? Upper middle class or wealthy people, because it's extremely, extremely expensive. I was able to get pregnant for free, and it was very fun doing it, by the way. So you can't beat that. IVF, I've heard, is so arduous. I've never faced infertility, and my heart goes out to you who have. I've heard really sad things. I've known people who've gone through it, and it sounds like a nightmare. So my heart goes out to you. For real. It sounds very tough. It sounds incredibly arduous and difficult, heartbreaking and emotional. It's very expensive. So if the wealthy people can't get pregnant with IVF, where are they going to get their babies? Maybe to the people that were forced to have babies. I don't know. Just an idea.
Remember one of the other plaintiffs, Amanda Zarowski, who shared her story on stage at the DNC. Caitlin, I just gave a rundown of your story.
She's brave for speaking out about this.
No.
Good for her.
You did it a lot faster than I can do it sometimes.
Well, I mean, it is a harrowing tale. So 3 different moments where the Texas healthcare system could have intervened to preserve your health. And it failed you each and every time. These are pro-life policies, but yet they don't seem to be pro-life for the whole life.
I just, again, never in my wildest dreams when I started trying to have a second baby did I think I'd end up here and doing things like this and trying to talk about abortion and childbirth, IVF, miscarriage.
I just want to point out, remember she said she almost lost her uterus? A uterus is a big deal to lose. If you lose your uterus, you stop getting the hormones that make you female. So you'll start to look older, like wrinkles, you stop having your period, which, hey, that's actually a great thing, but you start to lose your feminine hormones and you age faster. Obviously, you can't have any more kids. You lose all of that ability. That's a big deal.
People, but we have to talk about it more because it's healthcare. And it's being denied to women across Texas, across many states with these draconian bans, and it's unacceptable.
Yep.
You decided to participate in this lawsuit, Zarowski versus Texas, which was brought to challenge the exemption structure in Texas. So you weren't challenging the abortion ban per se, but you were challenging the structure of exemptions, which make it very difficult.
Yeah, well, Trump said, hey, we're giving it back to the states. So go after the state. I'm sure Texas is doing great financially.
Physicians to provide medically necessary abortions because they don't know what exceptions are permissible. What was the fate of that lawsuit, and why did you decide to share your story in that way?
I ultimately decided to join the lawsuit and to share my story because my second pregnancy, I got a fatal fetal diagnosis that my child his bones would begin to break in utero, and if the child survived to childbirth, after his bones breaking during that, he would most likely suffocate without extreme medical intervention. And
Terrible.
So while my life was not in immediate danger, my entire goal as a mother was to end my child's pain before it could begin.
You know what? And that's cruel to her as well emotionally. Your body goes through surges of hormones that make you very moody. Cry at the drop of a hat. I would see commercials and it would start making me emotional for no logical reason. None. But pregnancy makes you nuts. It made me nuts. I felt crazy. Being a woman, I feel crazy. So this is like adding insult to injury because being a woman is hard enough. We are so judged for the dumbest shit that you men don't even understand. Basically how we look, whether or not we're desirable sexually, it's insane.
And when my doctor, in the same day that my doctor told me, this baby, this pregnancy test, that like the minute it turned positive, you start dreaming about a baby. And this doctor told me this pregnancy is not viable. He then sent me home with my medical records and I was told to figure it out. And so it was in those moments and then after my miscarriages and after my daughter's birth that I realized this isn't going to change. They don't care. They don't seem to be trying to correct these laws and making things like exception work and doing all of these things. And this isn't the world I want my daughter growing up in.
And what
That sucks because there should be enough sympathy. Is it because they can't get pregnant and do it or have experienced this that makes them so not connecting with humanity? This breaks my heart for her because pregnancy is really hard at every stage. In the beginning, you're sick. In the middle, it's kind of okay, but you're still not feeling great. At least I mean, everyone is an individual, okay? But most women have to feel uncomfortable. And then at the end, I felt like a beached whale. I felt huge. Mostly it's a very difficult physical process. So they're asking her to go through the whole thing only to have a baby who inevitably isn't going to make it. That's cruel.
and in the lawsuit, like it went all the way to the Texas Supreme Court.
Yeah, it went all the way to the Texas Supreme Court. And
Good.
in the
Get
end,
'em.
we were dismissed from the final opinion. That they didn't mention any of our names. They didn't give us any clarity. They pretty much said, this is the doctors. They don't know what they're doing. And the law seems to be fine.
But the politicians
And
do.
They upheld the law, made no mention of you, made no mention of your experiences, and just said this is all on the doctors and they should know what to do.
Yeah. They basically said, oh, it seems like the law's pretty good where it is, right? And doctors. But I have seen, over my journey, I have seen probably 20 different types of fetal maternal specialists. I've not met a single doctor that wasn't in tears or heartbroken about the care they couldn't provide to me, but they don't know what to do.
It is worth mentioning that the Texas Supreme Court, which heard this case, and again, as you say, dismissed you unilaterally and upheld this law. I think 3 of the justices on that court are up for re-election in this election cycle. So Texas voters will have the opportunity to weigh in on whether or not they should continue on the Texas High Court. But
The majority of the United States thinks that abortion should be legal in some form. 70% or so, something like that.
let me go back to this question of the state's abortion policies. These are laws intended to make women continue a pregnancy, but the result, as your case makes very clear, is that it's actually impacting downstream health care for women who are pregnant, may need not to be because of their own health. It's basically impacting maternal and infant care in the state, not just fetal policy. Do they understand this? What is the point of this in a state that ostensibly is pro-life?
I don't think they understand, and I don't think they care. After my daughter was born, I had a retained placenta. The standard of care treatment for that is a DNC to remove the tissue.
Right.
I've had that.
The standard of care is to make sure you are having that procedure within 30 minutes of birth. I waited an hour and 49 minutes. I nearly bled out because they couldn't get me the equipment that they needed.
It's a travesty.
And that was 2 years after SB 8 had gone into effect. And they don't seem to care, and they don't seem to care about finding ways to help hospitals fix this.
Yeah. Ultimately, when you got the medically necessary abortion that you needed, you had to do so by going to Kansas to do that. What do you say to women in quote unquote safe states who think that everything is fine as long as their state stays permissive or more available in terms of abortion access? Are they in danger too?
Yes, because if Donald Trump is elected, he could pass a federal abortion ban, which will supersede any state protections. So you should be concerned. You should be thinking about the future of your reproductive health.
To Trump's credit, he says he won't do that. But then again, he's a politician, and they're not known for keeping their promises or telling the truth. So who knows?
Your daughter, your sister, every woman you know, because these laws are not intended to protect unborn children. They are intended to force pregnancy and force birth, regardless of the situation. They're intended to make women jump through unnecessary hoops to get the medical care we need, to beg from empathy from courts. And this is all set up. We don't deserve this as women. We are human beings. We are not breeding stock. We deserve basic health care.
Yeah. You know, this reminds me of Handmaid's Tale. If you haven't seen it, it's a great show on Hulu. Women are people. Why is this being revoked? Why is this being revoked? This makes no sense to me. If you're someone who wants an abortion, you should be able to get it. If you're someone who doesn't want an abortion, doesn't believe they're right, don't get one. How? Why? Why do people want other people to live the way that they think they should? If I want to smoke weed And I'm not going up to you blowing it in your face, being an asshole about it. I should be able to do as much as I want. I have neighbors who have called the cops on me because they think that this is real. This is real. And these are also dumbass people who are on food stamps, welfare, and have been for 20 years, okay? That's who we're working with here. So just let me say that first. They really think that if you smoke weed or cannabis, that it goes through the vents and makes them high. They really think this. I'm not kidding you. These people are so dumb that they literally think they will get high if someone's smoking weed and it goes through the vents. And they want to force people to live the way that they do. Well, I don't want to be on welfare. No, thank you very much. You're not a bad person if you're on it. Just if you're abusing the system, you're a bad person. But that's a whole other topic. That's a whole other topic. If you're a disabled person, that's different too. No problem. But if you are a healthy, able-bodied person and you are taking advantage of the system and living off of somebody else's tax money, what are you doing? Anyway, different topic. But yeah, this is like Handmaid's Tale. They want to force women to make babies, and I don't understand this. This makes me think of the perpetual growth that capitalism requires in order to continue in perpetuity. It's not realistic. And they're trying to scare millennials and Gen Zs into, well, the population is going to be old people and younger people. I'm sorry, but I don't want to create a situation like what we have with tons and tons of boomers that not all, but a lot of them are really out of touch. They are hoarding wealth. They are hoarding resources that younger families need. And then they're surprised and shocked beyond belief when Zoomers and millennials don't want to have as many kids. So then they do this. They take away Roe versus Wade to force people to have those precious babies that they as grandparents don't even want to pay attention to. Get a grip.
Caitlin Cash, thank you so much for sharing your story. This is an unbelievably harrowing experience. I'm so sorry you went through this, but I'm so glad that you came on this morning to tell us about it.
This woman is a brave person, and good for her speaking out and bringing this issue to light, because she's not the only one. There are so many women who need abortions, who really need abortions for any reason. If you want to have an abortion, you should be able to get one. I kind of don't care what the reason is. I mean, I don't want children killed, but I don't want children to come into this world who are not wanted. That is sick. If you are going to have a baby, it should be this is a celebration. This is exciting. This is happy. This is wanted. And if it's anything other than that, you should be able to make a choice. Babies are great. I've had 4 of them. I've loved every single one at a level of love that I cannot describe. It is amazing, incredible, beautiful, but it's also very hard. There's a lot that comes with it, guys. So thanks for listening today. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and peace out.